host only. There it is. I love how when I say I'm going to turn on host only, everyone's got to get one last little letter in there or dig or something. Have an E and an H and a W and a alrighty then. Good thoughts. But I just in kind of going back over a few of the math assignments from the past few days, I do want to go back over some of the information about how to write expressions, how to write algebraic expressions, because there's a little bit of confusion, especially when it comes to subtraction. When we have addition and multiplication, it's a whole lot easier because it doesn't matter what order you write the numbers in. So if I said, for example, the product of 3 and a number n, the product of 3 and a number n, show me how you would write that. The product of 3 and the number n. There you go. Yes, thank you very much. All right, now that we are getting going here, product of 3 and the number n, it could be written multiple ways. I mean, you guys wrote it just fine. If you have the product means multiply. So the product of 3 and a number n, it could be written multiple ways. Yes. Most of you wrote it just like that, 3n, and that's perfectly fine. Some of you one of you said, hey, I write 3 times n. Yes, that is also correct. If you put 3 and n in parentheses, that is also correct, or 3 and a dot and an n. But did anyone think, just because I said the number 3 first, you put the number 3 first, and in multiplication, that's just fine. But did anyone think that you could also say n times a number 3 or n times the number 3 like so? It could be done. And it doesn't matter for multiplication. That's the beauty of multiplication, is you can flip the numbers around. Because if I were to replace the n with a 2, for any of these, the n for a 2, no matter how you solve any of these, it's all going to equal 6. Okay, 3 times n. If I replaced n equaling 2, 3 times n, 3 times 2 would be 6, no matter which way you look at it. Or if you flip it around, 2 times 3 is also 6. Okay, so multiplication is a very beautiful thing here because you can mix the numbers around and it won't change the answers. Just like addition, if I were to say the sum of x and y, the sum of x and y, go ahead and write that. The sum of x and y. Absolutely, Aaron. Oh, Chloe, that means multiply. If you put them right next to each other with nothing between, it means multiply. Sum is the key word here. Sum means you have to add it. Okay, sum means you have to add. So if you have a sum of x and y, it should look like x plus y. Okay. If you flip this around, would it be the same thing? Is this equal to y plus x? Could you write it this way also? Yes or no? That's my next question. Yes, thank you very much. Oh boy, I got yeses coming in all over the place. So yes, addition, just like multiplication, if you switch it around, if I said x was 2 and y is 3.
Your call may be recorded. Thank you for calling Franklin Templeton website support.
Okay. Pardon this interruption for an important announcement. All right, if I were to replace 2
in the world.
If I were to replace the 2 for the x and the 3 for the y, that would be 5. And same if I flip it around, if I replace y is 3 and x is 2, same thing, I would still get 5. So that's the beauty of addition and multiplication. You can flip the numbers around, which is actually called the commutative property. You can move these numbers around and it won't change the answers. However, when we get into more difficult, a little bit more thought-provoking problems, such as 4 less than a number, okay, 4 less than a number, and I'll say a number x, 4 less than a number x. Okay, go ahead and write that one down for me, please. I knew it. No, every single one of you wrote it incorrectly. Oh, wait, nope, now I'm getting some right answers in there. Sorry. Okay, most of you, what happens is you see the number 4 and you automatically put the number 4 first. Let's see if this is true. Okay, 4 less than, you know that less than means subtract. But just because you see the 4 first and the x last, automatically you put 4 minus x. And I'm just going to write this down for a second, even though this one is absolutely wrong. Okay, I want to make sure that you know this way is wrong. I'm going to write it the wrong way, and I'm going to show you why this way is right. Okay, the right way would be x minus 4. Are these the same thing? Yes or no? No, they are not the same thing. Absolutely not. Because if I were to plug in a number for x, let's just say x equals 3 in this instance. Okay, 4 minus 3 is 1. Okay, what about 3 minus 4? We haven't actually talked about negative numbers yet, but having a dollar and owing a dollar, -1, two totally different things. I'd much rather have a dollar. Maybe I can buy myself a soda or something at the dollar store. All right. Yeah, we will be getting into negative numbers, but I just want you to see that this is different. This is totally a different thing. Now, the other part is 4 less than a number. You actually have to start with the number before you can go 4 less than that. And what I mean by that is, okay, what I mean by that is if I have a number of apples, we'll say, I don't know, let's say that I have 15 apples and you have 4 less than me, okay, 15 apples, if I say 15 apples or x minus the 4, and if I said x represents 15, now I have 15 apples, and you have 4 less than that, 4 less than me. How many would you have? Okay, if x represented 15. Yeah, you would have 4 less than me. So you have to start with how many you have before you can go less than that. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit more about that one. If I were to say, and less than is the tricky word, less than, 5 less than number R, okay, and we'll say R is for roses, okay, 5 less than R. Show me how you would write that one. Thank you very much. Yeah, and of course you know that less than means subtract, and I still have some people putting the 5 first. 5 less than R. If R stands for a number of roses, all right, Valentine's Day I think is the next holiday that we celebrate. So if I have some number of roses, let's say I have a dozen roses. A dozen roses, of course, is 12 roses. So let's say R stands for 12. I have 12 roses. You have 5 less than me. You have to start with what you have first before you can less than. So in this instance, you're actually reading the problem almost backwards. You have to think, what am I starting with? I'm starting with R, and then I can subtract the 5. So if I'm starting with a dozen roses and you have 5 less than me, then you would have 7 roses. Absolutely. There you go. All right. I still have some folks writing it backwards. Now, less than is the tricky one. If I said a different word, if I used a different word for subtraction, like difference, what is the difference? Okay. Difference between, I would say 5 and R. Ooh, this is a different one. Now we're going to do it slightly different. The difference between 5 and R. Yes, difference. It does mean subtract also, but when you're talking about the difference of something, you're actually going to take the bigger number and put it first, the bigger number and put it first. All right, so the difference, it might be 5 and R. In this case, R would have to be smaller than 5 because you would just subtract and say whatever the bigger number is minus the smaller number if you want the difference of something. Say if I have 5 roses and you have 13 roses, okay, what's the difference? Then I would take 13 minus 5. Whatever the bigger number is minus the smaller number. But in this case, you could just say whatever 5 minus R is. But less than, this one's a tricky one. So be very cautious about the words less than, because if you have less than somebody, you have to start with the bigger number, whatever you have, and then you could take 5 less than that. Okay. And in continuing with more writing of expressions, I have a few more examples that I want to really focus on here. Here's the first example. Okay, let's see if I can get my board here to reach. Okay. My camera's kind of wonky. Terrible camera. All right. Now let's talk about a little bit about the volume in the area, because that's another area that I saw that where there's a little bit of confusion. When I said the volume of a cube is 3 or s to the 3rd power, that just means the side times the side times the side. Okay. So if I have side times side times side, side cubed, which one of these would be the correct answer? A, B, or C? A has side times side times side, B has side, and C is side minus side minus side. Yes, of course. Side cubed means you multiply the 3 sides by each other. Yes, A is the correct answer. You're multiplying 3 different sides. Now let's see what that looks like. I'm going to jump over here to a different problem about volume. I wrote down my examples and then I thought of more after the fact. So let's see if I can do this one. All right, here's the volume of a cube. Okay, this cube, if you can see it here, look carefully, it's 3, x, and y. These are the 3 sides. 3 is the height, x is the length, and then y would actually be the width, okay? So you have 3 different measurements here, 3, x, and y. So my question is, which one of these would actually be volume of this cube? 3, x, and y. Would it be A, B, or C? Remember, it's side times side times side. So which one of these represents a side times a side times a side? Yeah, okay. So there's nothing that you're cubing here. Even though I said it's side cubed, that's only if you have a perfect cube. And that means that all 3 sides are exactly the same. But if they're different, then side times side times side would be 3 times x times y. And the only one that represents that, we're not multiplying anything by itself, so there's no exponents here. You want 3 times x times y, right here. You're just taking that side times the side times the side. So side times side is C. Yes, you would have C is the correct answer. Now the cubed only works if all three sides are exactly the same. This side, this side, this side, all the sides are the same. You're still doing side times side times side. And that's how we got 3xy for that example. Okay. Let's try an area question. If you have an area of a square, perfect square, it says the area is side squared if it's a perfect square. So that means this side times this side. Which one of these represents side, the area of this square? All right, okay. Keep it coming. Good, good. Just want to make sure we got it. Side squared. Remember, that means multiply. You're multiplying. A says side plus side, B is side minus side, and C is side times side. Okay, yes, you are multiplying, so therefore C is the correct answer here. And another example, what if the sides are different? What if it's not a perfect square? Let's say that I have an area of a rectangle here, and this area of this rectangle is 15. One side is 15 and one side is y. I don't know how much the other one is. So which one of these would represent the area of this rectangle? It's not a perfect square, so you don't need any exponents. You don't need exponents if it's not a perfect square. All you have to do is take side times side. So 15 times y. Yes, B is the correct answer. You got 15y expressed by just multiplication, simple multiplication there for the area of a rectangle. Okay. Let's do two more. And these two actually are going to have two answers. Okay, this one's going to have two answers. I have 3y represented here at the top. Okay, and then there are four choices. Which ones of these, there are two correct answers. Which ones of these, make sure you put both answers in your same text here, represents 3y. Think about this one. Ha ha ha. Isabella, yes. Alexis, yes. Angie, that's one. All right, everybody's getting C. C is definitely a correct answer because 3y is the same thing as 3 times y. And of course, a dot is the same thing as multiplication. But there's another answer. Which other answer matches 3y? I got you, Alexis. If you have 3 y's, whoops. Sorry, some of you guys, okay, there you go. If you have 3 y's, you could replace y for any number. If you had 2 replacing the y and you had 3 2's, it would be the same thing as saying you have y plus y plus y. Sorry, I think I messed up earlier on saying some of the names. B and C are the correct answers. If you have 3 y's, you can add those y's 3 times, or you can multiply 3 times y. Those are all equivalent. All right. The last one here, last one I have for you. Again, 2 correct answers. If I have a problem here that has a parentheses in it, and this is kind of the distributive property that we're reviewing here just a wee bit as well. If you distribute this 3 to everything inside the parentheses, which 2 answers, again, there are 2 answers, which 2 answers are going to match? Distributive property means you took a 3 out of everything inside. So you have to redistribute this 3 back to the 2 and back to the x. So maybe that's a hint that you redistribute. There you go, Alexis. All right. Danielle, that's one of them. All right. Yes, Kindlen. Okay, there you go. We're getting there. A lot of people said C because they took the 3 times the 2. And because this is in parentheses, the 3 has to go to everything inside the parentheses. So you do multiply the 3 times the 2. However, you also have to multiply the 3 times the x. So since C is missing 3 times x, that one is not one of the answers. Okay. Yes, B is one of the answers, and most of you guys got that one now that I've given you the little hint. You took the 3 times the 2 and you added the 3 times the 6 as well. All right, and there's one more answer. Which one is the other correct answer? Aha, yes, now you have it. If you take the 3 times 2, you get 6, and you still have 3 times x, so 6 plus 3x is the other answer. Whew. All right, A and B were the correct answers to this particular problem. We'll do a few more like this one because this seems to be the confusing part a little bit on how to break apart some of these problems and how to actually write them. But I wanted to just give you a couple more problems because again, you're assigned more iReady today and you're going to see some of the problems like this. But let's go ahead and just practice a couple more of solving some expressions. If I said p over 2 minus 5, if p equals 14, what would your answer be? Yes. Very good. Yes, if you plug in 14 for p and divide it by 2, this is divide. 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 7 minus 5 is 2. Final answer for that expression is 2. Very good. Yesterday we were doing some exponents as well. If I have 2x minus x to the second power, oh yes. If x equals 5, what is this answer? You're going to have to write this one down, probably solve it out. Might take longer on this one. It's going to take more thoughts. Remember, if 2 to the x power would be x replaces the, or 5 replaces the x minus x to the second or 5 to the second. Now you're dealing with exponents. I've got a few different people with a few different answers. 2 to the 5th power, don't forget 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, write it all out. So if you have 2 to the 5th power, $16, oh yeah, just 1 at a time. 2, 4 and 4, 16, 16, 2, 32 minus, what is 5 to the second power? Well, that's 5 times 5, or 25. Yeah, there you go, you guys. Of course, 7. Don't forget, when you have exponents, it means how many times you have to multiply that big number, the base number. All right. That kind of leads us into some more practice. Yup, the answer is 7. That leads us into some practice on math. I want to make sure that you have some math time or some time to practice math. And your math is a new lesson on iReady. You have a new lesson on iReady. So again, if it takes you 20 minutes to finish the whole lesson on iReady, then finish it today. Great. You have 10 minutes though to get started right now on your math in iReady. And I do want to make sure that you understand how to write expressions. I'm just going to put a couple of these up here to make sure you see that they're equivalent. But the lesson for today is on iReady. And if it takes you 2 days, then fine. You have today and tomorrow to work on it to finish the lesson. And it is called, oh, written down right here, algebraic expressions with exponents. So there's more exponents in the algebraic expressions. Okay, so let me text everyone here. iReady math lesson practice. It's called algebraic expressions exponents. And I get some people finish quickly. That's great. Finish it today, then you're done. And some people finish a little more slowly, which is why I allow you 2 days to finish. But by tomorrow, by Friday, you should have both of these assignments done because they will give us grades in iReady, and we can see if you're passing these lessons or not. Okay. So for the next 10 minutes, you're working on iReady, and then you can have about a 5-minute break because at 9:15, the next lesson will begin. Okay. Oh, okay.
Low as in like a lot of bass in your voice, or like
Oh, you can barely hear me. Okay, guys, 1 more minute. Let's go. Come back, please. Good news, you will not need your whiteboards. So I don't have to search for them. There you go. Some of you are coming back. Okay, let's get started. Today in reading, it's our 3rd day for the story, for the mystery, the graphic novel, which had to do with who's hiding in the spy museum. In this novel, we talked about asking questions. And I have a question for you about that. But before I do that, I want us to look at do a little bit of vocabulary work. It's very, very simple. I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'm going to go over these right here. We looked at the prefix. Prefix is a word that we need to know, but it's a syllable that's put at the beginning of the word to change its meaning. And we looked at the prefix MIS, or miss, this week. Miss. We talked about that miss has a certain meaning to it. that it brings to the word. So the word misbelieve means to believe wrongly. MIS has the meaning of wrongly, to miss the meaning, to make a mistake is to believe wrongly. What does misdefine mean? I want you to get it. I'm going to give you some think time, and I want you to put it in your head what you think this word means. About another 5 seconds. This isn't hard. Misdefine means to define wrongly, okay? To make a mistake in stating a definition or what a word means. Miss means to do something wrong or wrongly. It is to miss the mark. It is to make a mistake. What do you think misguess means? This is so simple. But by knowing these prefixes, we will add to our vocabulary immensely. That's right. Miss means to guess wrongly. To make a mistake in our guess. Okay? Okay, MIS. What I want you to do is I want you to find a word or make a word up even and put the word MIS on the front. Now, the second part of the word, the second syllable, the root of the word will probably have to be certainly will have to be a verb. In other words, an action word, something you do. Okay? Now, I have shared this with you, and all I want you to do is on this very last slide, what you're going to do is you're going to click, write in a word. Okay? Nobody can use this word. To misread means to, and then you come down here, read wrongly. Or to make, having a hard time today, mistake while reading. That's all you have to do. One slide you have to do. You have to come up with a word. Misread is my example. You cannot use that. Okay. This is posted and you must do it today. Okay. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Every third day of Literacy Footprints, we do a response to literature. Today, I want us to make a connection with our reading. Now, remember, connections are very important when we read. When you write, you're trying to make a connection with somebody, but when you read, you're trying to receive a connection. And reading is, in making connections, it often involves the emotions. It has to do with you yourself and how you're interacting with the reading. Today, I want you to make a personal connection. We can make connections with what we know of the world. We can make connections with our knowledge. We can make connections with our other reading. And we can make connections with our heart, with our emotions, with our inner self. Okay, today, I want you to make a connection with your inner self. Again, I'm going to share. This also has been shared with you. It's a Google Doc, And it says, who's hiding in the spy museum, has today's date, and it says response to literature at the very, very top. It says, write a short paragraph answering the following question. Which type of spy do you find most interesting as described on pages 14 to 15? Why? Why do you think you could be that kind of spy? Could you be a spy at all? What would be some obstacles to being a spy? Okay, so then it says begin writing here. Just go a couple lines below. Make sure you indent and begin writing. Okay? Answer the questions. I've given you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions to help spur your writing, to help you make a connection with the story. The story is also shared with you. It's been assigned to you in Literary Footprints, so you can go back and look on pages 14 and 15 if you don't remember what 4 types of spies there are. Okay? So at this time, every third day we do this. At this time, oh, one more thing I need to make an announcement before we start writing. Next week, we will be having our vocabulary quiz. And I will post a Quizlet today for you to use to review. Okay? It'll be posted very, very shortly. Okay, you may begin on your writing. If you get that done, use any extra time that you have to go with iReady. Try to get your stuff, your assignments done for today. You also have a little bit of math, I believe. I understood that. Let's begin going now. If you have any questions, go ahead and send them in chat and I'll try to respond to them. Okay, good. What was I gonna do?
Need to do is go back into yesterday's assignment, which is the guided practice using the 5 media questions. So I need you to get back in that document because we're going to continue our draft today. So the opening paragraph was provided for us. So for those of you who may not have been here yesterday or tuned in, this is where we're at. So the first paragraph was given for us. We copied that. We should have that in our document. And then I asked you a series of questions, and you should have responded with 1 sentence for each of those questions. So a 1 sentence response for each question. And then we are going to move on. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you in just a moment. But for right now, go into your Google Classroom and access that document. So okay, so I put that in the chat. Go to Google Classroom and access the document guiding practice using the 5 media questions. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I had a couple people who turned this assignment in for some reason. I have no idea how or why. we're maybe not even quite past the halfway mark. So, okay. All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna hopefully have that open. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen right now. All right, so this is where we should be at the moment. So you should have your name up here. And then this is our opening paragraph. The day had finally arrived. My parent promised that if I made all A's on my report card, I could have anything I wanted at Dairy Queen. Now that is an important decision. So that's our opening paragraph. And then we asked, okay, just a second. All right, I have, sorry guys, I'll be with you in just a second, Okay. Okay, just a second. Okay, everybody. Before we go any further, my son is going to play the national anthem with his automaton. Okay, go ahead, Lynn.
You gotta take the background off.
Cool. All right, let's play ball.
Bravo.
Hey, let me see it real quick.
Bravo.
This was, well, I got him a version of this. It's called an automaton for those of you who haven't seen it, but it's just sort of, it's a Japanese instrument that you just sort of run down the fretboard there. And yeah, so he bought the bigger version with his own, but it's a pretty cool little instrument. So thank you, sir. We appreciate, thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Cool. All right. Sorry for that detour. Okay, let's get back to work. So we should have the opening paragraph, and we did the first paragraph on our own. So we are going to pick things up with the second paragraph. As far as the structure is concerned, so this is where we are right now. So this was the prompt, the opening paragraph, which we just reviewed. So this is the structure that we're working from. Yesterday, we did the first paragraph, which was standing in line. So today, hopefully, before 10:30, we will, at the very least, finish paragraph 2, which is us standing at the counter, and then hopefully, maybe get into paragraph 3. So we're gonna do the same thing that we did yesterday. We're just picking up with paragraph 2. That's all we're doing. Okay. So these were the questions that I asked yesterday. I'm not going to write these down today. You just need to make sure that you're listening and then writing. So this is more of, and it actually is a skill. It is a standard in our Common Core State Standards, listening and speaking. So today you will be listening and then writing responses to the questions that I ask. So we did that yesterday. And now we are right here at paragraph 2 at the counter, okay? So let's go ahead and pick up from there. So we are beginning, if this, now obviously I would have some more writing here. This is paragraph, and I don't want you to write like what I'm writing. I'm just doing this for bookkeeping purposes so you can see what's going on. So my first paragraph, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight in orange here. So now we are starting a new paragraph. So we're indenting. And then we're doing the second paragraph. So we're at the counter. So question number 1. So here we go. Our last, well, let me rewind just briefly. The last thing that we said at the end of the first paragraph was, how are we feeling? So we added an intermittent feeling. So now we are going to write a transition sentence that gets us from waiting in line to up in the counter. So this is where we're going to use an embedded transition. Now, this is a teachable moment here. So when we talk about sentences, and I'm going to go ahead, well, I'm at 200% here. But there are 2 types of clauses. There is an independent clause. Sorry, this is an impromptu grammar lesson here. There's what's known as an independent clause and a dependent clause. So what is the difference? An independent clause is essentially a simple sentence. So it has a subject, a predicate, and it is a complete thought, okay? It is a complete sentence, a complete thought. A dependent clause, however, has the same thing, but it's it is an incomplete thought. So what I mean by this is we have something that says, if I started this sentence with, after what seemed like 2 seconds, it is an incomplete thought. So after what seemed, so it has a subject, it has a predicate, but it is an incomplete thought. After what seemed like 2 seconds. Okay, we're sort of left hanging there. This is an example of a dependent clause, and you see this a lot in complex sentences. So a complex sentence has both an independent clause and a dependent clause. So, and most often, when you see complex sentences, they usually begin with the dependent clause. Not all the time, but most of the time. So after what seemed like 2 seconds. Okay, so this first sentence is going to be a transition sentence that gets us from waiting in line up to the counter. All right, so go ahead and write that now. I'll give you 2 minutes. So you're writing a sentence. So you're writing a sentence that gets you from waiting in line up to the counter. So go ahead and write that right now. So you're writing a transition sentence that gets you from waiting in line up to the counter. So this could be things like before I knew it, okay, which is a dependent clause. After what seemed like 2 seconds, or you could go the other way, what seemed like 3 years, especially if you're waiting for a blizzard. All right. So that is the first sentence that we're writing, and you've got about a minute. So we're starting the second paragraph. It's the first sentence. We're writing a transition sentence right now that gets us from waiting in line at the Dairy Queen up to the counter. And if you do this right, you should end up writing a complex sentence. And again, if you're uncomfortable with this, good. It's all right to be uncomfortable. The more you try something, the more you do something, the more you put yourself out there, the better you will get over time. So do the best you can. Write a transition sentence. All we're doing is just writing a sentence that gets us from waiting in line up to the counter. That's it. Okay, cool. That's it. I want to take a look at the chat real quickly. If some of you would be willing to share that sentence, I'd like to just do a quick check on that. Well, no, technically we're doing the second body paragraph. Okay, after what seemed like 5 years looking at trash and looking at the food in the kitchen, I was finally at the counter. Good, Aaron. Finally, what seemed like hours, I woke up. After waiting forever in line, we finally got to the counter. Good, Kendallin. Perfect. The next thing I knew, the cashier was asking me what I wanted to order. Good. Whose was that? Yeah, Jaslyn. Good. Kendallin. Excellent. Rosalind. A couple of minutes passed and I was already at the counter, ready for my Oreo Blizzard. Rosalind. Outstanding. Good. A few minutes later, I finally got to, after waiting for what felt like forever. Good, good, good. After what seemed like 10 hours. Good. Excellent. You guys are very much on the right track. Good. That makes me feel better. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next sentence. So sentence 2, and I will give you 2 minutes for this one as well. We're going to pick up the pace here because we're, well, you're not running behind, I'm running behind. So that's my fault, not yours. Okay, so sentence 2. So now we are going to focus on the person taking the order. Describe that person in one sentence. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Describe the person taking your order. Okay, just one sentence. That's it. So you arrive at the counter. The person working the counter, taking the order, is there and waiting for you. Describe that person in one sentence. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. Is it a zitty teenager with you know, maybe hasn't washed their hair in 4 to 6 weeks? Is it a retired person? Okay, I just need to be quiet and let you guys do the writing. So focus on the person taking the order. Describe them in one sentence. What do they look like? What do they look like? Okay, got about a minute remaining. A minute remaining. So now what we're doing as you're writing this, you are describing the person taking orders. So you're describing what's happening around you, okay, which is one of the strategies that we've talked about, one of the good writing strategies that we can use in any genre of writing, but especially personal narrative, right? We're creating images that that the reader can read and visualize. That's our job as a writer, is to put the reader in a scene, okay, to make it real for them. That's what we're doing right now. So describe that person taking your order. This is killing me. I still want to write this, but cool. All right, so that's it for sentence number 2. Let's move on to sentence number 3, because we are, like I said, we are tight on time. So sentence 3, here is your task for this sentence. Sentence 3, what are you feeling right now as you were about to make your decision and order your treat? So what are you feeling right now? Okay, so again, we're back to intermittent feelings. So we're incorporating some of those into our response. And order your treat. So sentence 3, this is where we're at right now. What are you feeling right now as you are about to make your decision and order your treat? Are you anxious? Are you self-assured? Like you know exactly what you want, so you're going to get up there and let them know, you're going to blurt that out? Or are you going to get up there and hesitate? I don't know, maybe the Oreo Blizzard, maybe the Heath Blizzard, maybe a little Snickerdoodle. I don't know. But what are you feeling right now? Are you anxious? Are you confident? What are you? And make sure that you show me, don't tell me. Don't tell me, I feel confident ordering my Oreo Blizzard. Like, no, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody cares. Let the visuals do the talking. So show me, don't tell me. What are you feeling right now? So what does that look like? And we've got about a minute and 30 seconds, by the way. So maybe your hands are on your hips, or you have your palm under your chin and you're sort of gazing at the menu still. You're right? You don't have to say, well, I didn't really know, or I was unsure. All the body language in that particular description will tell you. But what are you feeling right now? This is an intermittent feeling. So you know, as I approached the person taking the order, I couldn't help but feel this or that. So you're telling me how you're feeling. Telling me how you're feeling. It's an intermittent feeling. Okay. All right. And I did, yeah, show, don't tell is a good rule of thumb. This one right here, this is an intermittent feeling. So you're going to tell me how you're feeling. So there are certain occasions where it is okay to do that, and that would be one of them. So how are you feeling? Okay, moving on to sentence 4. As you order your treat, describe what the person next to you is doing. So as you order your treat, describe what the person next to you is doing. All right. And remember to give that person like an outstanding characteristic of some type. So we need to make sure that in our mind, if we have to go back and reference this or reread it, we know, oh yeah, that's the guy with the big nose, or that's the guy with the purple hair, or that's the guy with, you know, whatever the case may be. So sentence 4, as you order your treat, describe what the person next to you is doing. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. So we are right here. So as you order your treat, describe what the person next to you is doing. So maybe they're fiddling with their phone. Maybe they've got a yo-yo. Maybe they've got an automaton and they're playing the national anthem with it as they're standing next to you. Who knows? But as you order your treat, describe what the person next to you is doing. Okay, minute remaining. Let me check the chat here. Oh, wow. Heather, that's funny. Everyone who was in the kitchen looked depressed, but I guess that's what happens when you get paid $10 an hour. Yeah. Good, Leah, good. Blonde hair, really long pink nails. Her voice didn't match her appearance at all. Oh, she had a burly voice that startled me. Good, good, good. All right. Well, if your mom is next to you, go ahead and describe your mom. Doing the potty dance. Well acquainted with that. Okay, cool. So let's move on to, we are now on sentence number 5. Okay, so what are you thinking? Okay, one sentence. What are you thinking? So again, here is another intermittent feeling. We're using that strategy again. So 2 minutes, go. You've ordered your treat. You described what the person next to you is doing. What are you thinking? Now, obviously, it could be a number of things, but the previous sentence is the person next to you. So more than likely, if it was me, I would sort of divulge what I was thinking about that person who's standing next to me. So as you, sentence 4 is as you order your treat, describe what the person next to you is doing. We're here on sentence 5, which is what are you thinking? So got about 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Okay, cool. Let's move on. So sentence 5. What were you thinking? What are you thinking? Okay, sentence 6. This is another straightforward one here. Sentence 6. What do you do? What do you do? So we're on sentence 6, 2 minutes, go. What do you do? So sentence 5, you tell me what you're thinking. What do you do? Do you acknowledge that person? How do you respond? So sentence 6, what do you do? Okay, about 20 seconds remaining. Okay. Now that is it for the second paragraph. So I want to knock out a couple of questions in the next paragraph, primarily because I want to take care of this next transition. So tomorrow we can kind of pick up in a place that's a little bit easier. So this is paragraph number 3 that we're moving on to now. So if we come back here, so now we're at the counter and this is after we order. So we're moving into the third body paragraph right now. So that's where we're at. Sentence 1. Now we're going to write another transition sentence. That moves you from ordering to waiting for your treat to be made. So as I moved to the side of the line, after ordering, I wandered to the condiment station, whatever that. So again, we're writing a transition, an embedded transition sentence that's moving us from ordering to waiting for your treat to be made. So that's where we're at now. So again, complex sentence, we're starting with that dependent clause, whether or not you know it. But again, here we are starting another sentence with, another paragraph with a transition that is that's starting with that dependent clause. So as I move to the side of the line after ordering, I wanted to the condiment station, whatever. Now we're writing a transition sentence So let's go ahead and do that. I'll give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes. This is where we're at right here. So we're starting that third body paragraph right now. And this will be our last sentence for today. Okay, about 15 seconds remaining. Excuse me. Okay, cool. That'll do it. So in conclusion for today, we should have, hopefully everybody followed along and answered these questions. If you did, you're right on target. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect at this point. Just as long as you're going through the steps, you'll be fine. But I think the big thing for us today, as far as like the lesson that we learned, is that embedded transitions, which that is it's a sophisticated skill. It's probably a skill that a lot of even more advanced writers struggle with. And by more advanced, I mean middle school and high school. Embedded transitions is one of those things, when you get that figured out, writing becomes much easier. And we saw today that using complex sentences helps a writer transition from one thought or event to another. So we've been using, whether or not you know how they're constructed, and like I said, a complex sentence uses both an independent and dependent clause. And that's what we're doing. We've been using complex sentences today to help transition from one thought or event to another. So again, embedded transitions, it's a fairly sophisticated skill for a writer. And we spent a fair amount of time doing that today. So if you are comfortable with that at this point, congratulations, you are well on your way. If it's something that you're still struggling with, don't worry about it. We'll get some more practice and we'll dive into that tomorrow. We should be able to finish the draft tomorrow. We just have we've got another 5 questions for that paragraph and 2 more for the closing paragraph. And then we should have a completed draft. Okay, guys, that's it. That is my time. In fact, I'm a few minutes over, but Mrs. Digby and Mr. Mullen, Mrs. Bragg, I'm assuming we're going back to homeroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you. I will see you guys tomorrow. Good, Rosalind. That's very good to hear. That makes me feel better. That makes me feel a lot better. It's just a process, So I appreciate your work. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you all tomorrow. My homeroom people, I better see you in homeroom. All right. Otherwise, I'm going to send my son to your house and have him play the automaton outside your window at all hours of the day and night. All right. See you guys.